Hello everyone, I'm Paula Gilbert, the editor of Connecting Africa, and I'm here at NOVACOM Summit in Franschhoek, South Africa. And with me is Willie Oosthuysen. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at Liquid Intelligent Technologies. Hi Willie, it's nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, so Liquid is obviously a massive company, huge fiber footprint across Africa. So I'm just interested, in terms of the business, how have you seen it grow and evolve over the last couple of years, and what's the strategy at the moment in terms of, moving from fiber but into this huge matrix situation?
Thanks. I think it's an interesting company. I've been into the company for 4 years now, but I come with a long history of working with Liquid from an OEM space where I worked with helping to build the networks. We're now sitting at around about 110,000 kilometers of fiber pan-African in terms of terrestrial fiber. We have about 11 substation access where we get access to submarine cables. We also have pan-African wide satellite services that runs around there. So it's been a huge evolution of two things. One is capital investment to build and expand the fiber, and there was always the intention to build a very famous route Cape to Cairo, which is now complete. And then also east to west, we built 3 cables to connect Africa east to west. So really to provide terrestrial fiber as a backup and also as a mechanism to reduce latency pan-African. The next step then is to build data centers. We have about 9 active operating data centers now in Egypt, in Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and other places we're busy expanding. And then to interconnect all of these via these fiber routes, terrestrial and submarine capacity, and then to really build intelligent software infrastructure on top of that, where we deliver cloud services, cybersecurity services, voice services, pan-African, etc. Do we deliver, and then the ultimate view is to build this fabric and to automate it, digitize it, so you can get access to all of these services via software portals as the end state.
Yeah, it must be quite difficult to decide about strategy then when the company is moving into so many different directions, right? But I guess some of the things stack on top of each other, like we're talking about data centers, then you've got to add in all the cloud and deals with hyperscalers, all of that.
I think what we do at Liquid is to create, and as I mentioned before, is that we actually have Liquid is one of the operating entities of a bigger company called Cassava Technologies. Cassava Technologies has these different, if you want to call it verticals or functional focus areas. So Liquid Intelligent Technologies mainly focuses on networks, terrestrial fiber, submarine cables, satellite, and then also the overlay of cloud. Because we do see a new trend also emerging where people want to do inter-cloud routing. So some of your data is in AWS, some is at Microsoft, and you want a high-speed interconnect between those ones. Then there's another operating entity called Africa Data Centers, and they've got a separate CEO, separate strategy in terms of capacity build-out, funding mechanisms, etc. And then there's also the payment systems as a facility. So what Cassava Technology does is to create focus, is have each of these operating entities have their own strategy funding components, which is pulled together at the group level.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a bit more about satellite. Obviously, there's a lot of interest at the moment. Companies like Starlink coming, Elon Musk's baby coming to Africa. Yeah. The idea of satellite straight to mobile phones, right? And kind of the promises of satellite, of it becoming cheaper, all of that. I'm interested in how you see that as in the market.
Yeah.
Is it a worry for you that these other companies are coming in, or do you see it as a partnership type thing going forward?
I think from Liquid, we always see it as a partnership opportunity. We do have our own VSAT facility that is geosynchronized satellites that covers the whole of Africa. And we do believe there's a space for that. For example, ATMs for banks, retailer shops. Very interesting use case coming out now is that retailers are saying, in the case where load shedding kills the terrestrial networks, maybe if you're in stage 6, the tower of the mobile operator only can survive maybe 2 hours. And then people can have 3 to 4 hours of non-trading in their retail stores. And when they do a satellite solution, they can actually maintain that satellite, no dependency on terrestrial networks, etc. And we'll be very successful in deploying that for retail and also for banks, as an example. So coming back to the low Earth orbiting satellite is definitely an opportunity. There are regulatory barriers that people still have to overcome. And that's where we believe we come in to localize some of those services. We have licenses, we've got relationships with local authorities for regulatory localization of the service, for example. We do see still the prices are very high. They are dollar-based with the exchange rate as they are. So there are still barriers to entry for them into the local market, make it affordable, but in some cases it's the last resort. If you're in a remote game farm in the northwest province, then that's the only option, and people would use that. So we definitely see that it's a partnership opportunity for us to help them localize those services.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that they've been speaking about for years, satellite, that it's for rural areas, but they've got to bring their price point down because otherwise people in rural areas can't really afford it, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times people, similar to 5G, a lot of hype about, this is going to replace fiber. I don't believe it will ever replace fiber. It is still a consumption base, it's still wireless, in many cases still contented services, and these are expensive to scale. Compared to a fiber. So we really see there's a complementary technology to what we already offer.
Yeah, you mentioned 5G, so I'd like to speak about that next. Obviously, we're seeing a boom in Africa. I think my tally is up to about 14 countries have launched commercial services. What's your view on how 5G will really work for Africa? For me, I think it's more going to be in the enterprise space and for fixed wireless access rather than for mobile tech, right?
I think it's 100% correct. What we see also is that LTE 4G was mainly built as a reach for a coverage capacity. So people want to build out so everybody has access to mobile at a certain speed. Where we see 5G is more a capacity spectrum. So besides the capacity spectrum we use for 5G 4 is that we also have an opportunity for fixed wireless access, where people would use that as a backup service. So we intend to do some fixed wireless access services on those as well. An interesting application, though, is what we call vertical specific. And as we see some very interesting use cases demand from the mining area, we just had a very successful POC, which will go into production now, where we had some of these yellow metal companies come to us to look for a private 5G network that covers the mining area. And the use case there specifically was autonomous drilling, where they put 12 HD cameras on one of these yellow drills, and they remotely control it. While these cameras give them visibility. So people now sit in the control room remotely, almost like a drone, if you want to call it, and they do the drills, which has hugely improved their safety records. Because the biggest issue for mines is there's safety issues, you have to stoppage. Got up to 2 weeks for investigations, etc. That has a huge impact on their production.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the mining industry is definitely going to be somewhere where 5G can work well, especially because of that latency issue, right?
Latency and capacity that they had. Typical mines used to use Wi-Fi mesh services, and it was reliable. They've done some, but they couldn't really build their fourth industrial revolution type applications on top of that. What we've also seen is some of these vehicles have 2 or 3 or maybe sometimes 14. We saw a photo of SIM cards in one device, just to have different kind of load balancing across each one, different operator. And what people now want to do is say, this is my private 5G network. I have a SIM card specifically for that, and we control, run, and operate all the capacity on that as the mine, almost like a private operator. We provide as a service to them, full capacity on that.
Yeah, and then yesterday also in the panel you were talking about resilience of networks. How do you kind of see that in a strategic sense, bringing in all the different elements that we've spoken about, the undersea cables, the satellite, the networks. How do you strategize around that going forward, and how do you help that make growth for Liquid?
What we try to do at Liquid always is to build quality networks, and that is one piece of our brand we're very proud of. It is the quality and the performance of the networks we do. So in my team, we do all of the pre-sale solution designing for the customers, and we always build this resilience in from the bottom up, from the hardware resilience to the software resilience to the routing configurations, etc., to make sure it is not just you've got 2 cables. Sometimes customers ask, I want a terrestrial cable and I want a backup on Wi-Fi or satellite or microwave. So we really build the underlays and the overlays of these networks from the logical services point of view with that redundancy in mind. And then we make sure that when we do the handover to our service delivery teams, that they understand the redundancy requirements of our customers, especially when you talk about content replication of banks, a data center replication of banks. As one example, it could be some of the hyperscalers, we've got very high demands. And it's very important that we build from day one, that kind of resilience into the network at all layers, whether it's power redundancy, whether it's network redundancy, active equipment redundancy, or just routing redundancy, from where we source kind of the international transit also from different sources as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks so much. I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much to Willie Oosthuysen, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Liquid Intelligent Technologies.
Thank you.